Welcome to lesson 1-8. I am here at Dukes Creek Falls. This is going to be the first of 8 video lessons in this particular lesson. There are a little bit more than usual, so make sure that you are following through and watching each and every one of them. We're going to be taking a look at graphing on the coordinate plane in this lesson, as well as graphing inequalities. They're both very similar with just a couple minor tweaks between them, so we did put 2 different topics together, but they should be very similar. If you can do one, you should be able to do the other. Alright, let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, as I mentioned in the intro, this is the first of 8 videos. There's a lot of videos in this lesson, so I'm going to try and keep each one as brief as possible. So let's go ahead and jump into the notes. Now, this first video should cover some stuff that you guys should be remembering from middle school. We're just going to go over some of the basics that we're going to need, some of the basic vocabulary that we'll need to be able to talk about graphing. So if you remember from middle school, a coordinate plane is something that looks like this picture over here. And that coordinate plane is made up of 2 number lines that intersect at a point called the origin. Our origin is that center point right in the middle where those lines cross, and its ordered pair is always 0, 0. Now, as I mentioned, we have 2 different number lines. One goes from left to right, and that one is going to be called our x-axis, and it's going to go across right like this. And this is going to show where all our x values are on the graph. Our negative numbers are going to be to the left of the origin, and our positive x numbers are going to be to the right of the origin. And these are going to represent all the x values in our function. We also have a second number line that goes straight up and down. It's usually used to represent the dependent variable, and we use y for these values. Therefore, instead of calling it an x-axis, we call it a y-axis. And jumping back to our original picture, it is the one that goes up and down. And in the y-axis, the positive y values are all above the origin, and the negative y values are all below the origin. Now, if you remember back to lesson 1, we were talking about function notation. We have another name or function that we can use for y. Remember that f of x is the same thing as y. So sometimes at the top up here, instead of seeing a y, you might see f of x or g of x or h of x, whatever that function's name is. Now, as you guys have probably noticed by now, we like to throw in some historical notes, tie in a little cross-curricular with math and history. You also might see the coordinate plane called the Cartesian plane. That's because it was first developed by the mathematician and philosopher named René Descartes, and this has been around all the way since the 1630s. Alright, just a little bit more to talk about in this video, so let's go ahead and get into that. In this lesson, we'll be graphing lines on the coordinate plane, or the Cartesian plane, as I just mentioned in the historical note. When an equation with 2 variables is graphed on the coordinate plane, what it's going to do is represent all the possible solutions for that equation. So that means that anywhere on this line, if we take the ordered pair and plugged it into the equation, the 2 sides would be equal. So just to illustrate that for you guys here, I have a line with several different points, and I have an equation over here. And I'm just going to take a couple points from here and plug them in and see what we get. So if I have the ordered pair 0, 4, remember, in an ordered pair, they come in alphabetical order, x, y. So I'm going to plug this in, just like we were doing when we were evaluating expressions. I'm going to plug a 0 in whenever I see x, and a 4 in whenever I see y. And this should come out to be 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4 is 12. 0 plus 12 is 12. 12 equals 12. That's a true statement. So we can see that ordered pair makes a statement true. We can do that with any point on the line. I'll also try plugging in 6, 0. If I have 6, 0, that means x is going to be 6 and y is equal to 0. So I'm going to have 2 times 6 plus 3 times 0 equals 12. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 0 is 0. And I'm going to end up with 12 equals 12. So this is why we graph. We can see multiple solutions for one individual problem. Kind of like how when we were graphing inequalities, we did that on a one-dimensional graph with just one number line. Since we're going to have 2 variables in these, that's why we are going to be graphing on the coordinate plane. We have that x-axis that's our x number line and our y-axis, which is our y number line. Alright, that wraps up this video. We'll see you guys in the next one.